Welcome to Oh Brother, a podcast where we try to figure it all out, with your hosts, Brandon and Collin. On this week's show, Bicycle Brigade.
Ahoy!
Ahoy!
How goes it?
It's very cold.
Oh my gosh.
How's the heat situation? That's what we really need to know right now.
Gosh. Okay, so like our furnace is like, okay, it's 30 years old, like kind of at least. So we are kind of in the, not kind of, we are in the furnace of Theseus realm.
Uh-oh.
Right? Where, is it the same furnace as it was 30 years ago? I don't know. But we are having to just replace little pieces. And it's also because it's like, I don't want to have to spend like $16,000 for a new furnace and everything. Because what they won't do, or what they really want you to do is say, well, you're replacing the furnace. You know what you also have? An AC. What if we just did all of that together and then it's the same age? And I'm like, yeah, no, I understand. But see, the problem is I have dose furnaces, furnace I, and I also have dose AC units so everything just gets like doubled. And I'm like, I don't want that. So, and I'm perfectly fine to like, if it's like, okay, this part is broken, let's just replace the part. Let's do this thing. But now, like, this is throwing some weird stuff where I'm learning a lot about furnaces that you would be surprised having, the father that we do. Like, I didn't already know most of this stuff. But apparently, when a furnace goes to light, it has to do something called where it has to prove airflow, right? It has to prove that whenever...
Yes.
Especially because we have a gas furnace. So it's like, hey, I'm about to throw a lot of fire here in a minute. So I got to make sure that I can like exhaust and I can supply the fire with oxygen and stuff. So it's called an induction motor, and it runs, and it's basically just meant to run. And while it's running, it's pulling a vacuum to try and prove I have airflow. And that's where my system is like, do I though? Is there enough airflow? Maybe I don't. Hold on, everybody. Let's stop and let's just rethink this. And if the system does that too many times, it goes into quote unquote lockout mode, at which point the only real solution is to throw the breaker and wait. So yeah.
Efficient solution. Wait, no. The opposite.
So yesterday we had run into an issue where it was like, well, that's weird. Like, it's 66 in our house. It should be not that.
Not that, yeah.
Like, okay, weird. Like we keep our house at like 68 to 70 anyway, so we're not blasting out. That's just what we do. We're not a hot house, and so it's fine. So I was like,
much to the chagrin of one resident, at least.
One resident. Well, she has her own personal heater that travels from room to room with her.
Okay, so it's fine.
We bust that baby out.
There you go.
And so there's this little valve that's supposed to pull the vacuum, this like pressure switch or whatever it is. Like, that's the thing that like, is it doing the thing? Is it not? So we need a new one of those.
Signs point to no. That's
all signs point to no. It doesn't. It's not doing the thing. Oh my gosh. So we did get it fixed. And then I was like, okay, it's fixed. And we were like, la, 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 la. And then within like 30 minutes, it was like, no, I'm not fixed. I'm just really not fixed. And so I did the ultimate move here where finesse wasn't working. So I hit it with the end of a Phillips head screwdriver, and I fixed it. So,
hey, you know what? Sometimes that's all you need, right?
Just sometimes violence is the answer, is what we're learning.
Whack and stick method, right? Just
well, and so I don't know. So anyway, we have a new part. It's like this, like it's super simple to replace. It's literally like 2 screws, and it's just right there. So that won't take me too long. But yeah, it was like, well, all other recourse has exhausted itself. Now I get to beat things, right? Oh my gosh. So anyway, that's been fun. We do have heat. It's been working, and it's been working flawlessly. So that's, good.
Knocking on some wood for you. Click, click here. Knock, knock, knockity, knockity. We gotta make sure that's good.
Knock, knock, knocking. Oh my gosh. So that's been fun. And then we got how much snow did you get today?
Maybe like it wasn't a whole bunch, just a couple inches, I think.
Okay.
But it was also there was like a ton of like a little freezing rain, sleet stuff beforehand.
Yeah.
So it was pretty frozen. So we didn't have school today.
That's what I was going to ask. We were.
Yeah.
Did you guys call it this morning? Because our schools, like,
they called it this morning.
Our community college like canceled yesterday. Like they were like, nope.
Yeah, some of them did that, but like the superintendent is very forthcoming with his like weather plans, and apparently there's some sort of like conference call that happens between, I guess it's like superintendents and like weather people or whatever at like 4:15 in the morning. And so he was doing that.
That sounds not good.
No, because like the timing was all weird, because it was pretty rainy yesterday, right? Like a lot. But then it was the snow part, like it was like rain, freezing rain, sleet-ish, right?
Okay.
Kind of most of the evening and then like at night. But then in the morning, like the snow wasn't supposed to start till like 5 or so ish, right?
Yeah.
But when the snow came, it just like stuck immediately to everything on the road, right? It was just like, because the road was already kind of wet and frozen, because it's been real cold like all week anyway. So like it wasn't one of those times where it's like, oh, it's been warm, but then, oh, surprise, it's cold. No. It's been really cold all week long. Right. So it's, and there was like a little bit of freezing rain on Tuesday, right? But it was just like a little bit. So like trees were kind of gross and like mailboxes and things, but the roads were fine because it was just like a little bit, right? So Tuesday was kind of already gross, right? It was kind of like, and then I guess we take that and then put on top of it the stuff that happened that night. And it started like, I don't know, a little bit later. So all the stuff that was already there from like Monday night into Tuesday, because that was already kind of gross. And then another round of that plus more on Tuesday night. We're like, nope, no school. All right.
Oh my gosh. It's really,
it was kind of, yeah. So like even Monday night, we were like, are we going to have school? Maybe we're not. I don't know. Are we going to have school? I don't know. How much of this freezing rain stuff's going to happen? Like, so it's a bit of a limbo conversation. And I don't know about tomorrow either, because, like I said, it didn't get particularly warm today. And so I don't know what they're going to do about tomorrow. I don't know if we're going to have school tonight. I'm definitely not 100% sure about that either, just because like a lot of our bus routes the roads are really gross. And so today was not sunny and it was not warm. I think the high today was like 30. So
doesn't help.
Like,
and it's supposed
our
to get
road is
real cold
clear
tonight too, isn't it?
Yes. Our road is pretty clear. I mean, we didn't leave the house today, so I cannot confirm a whole bunch of this, but like our road has been cleared by the city. So like it got some help, right?
Yeah.
It didn't get this way by itself.
Yeah.
So like the sun didn't really come at it all today. And it wasn't really warm. Like it was kind of hanging out right around 31, 32 degrees. That's kind of as warm as it got today. So yeah, I don't know. And tonight's gonna be really cold. So I have no idea.
Good luck.
And I don't know what the other thing that factors into this is we were already supposed to be off of school on Friday. Right?
Oh.
So
yeah.
That I think that also factors into the conversation here slightly. Like, well, do we go back anyway because we're only going to be back Friday? Or do they say, oh, well, we're already going to be off Friday, so just forget it and just whatever?
Sure. It's interesting how those kind of things, you wouldn't think that would really play into a lot of these conversations, but they absolutely do, right?
Yeah.
Because logistically, I'm sure that's a lot to call back in when you're just going to not be there the next day. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, logistically, but also how much is actually going to happen on that one day when the kids come back for one day, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That's the other part that's kind of so I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. Who knows?
It's a fun adventure every day.
Yeah. We did have to do AMI work stuff today, though. So we'll see how many children did their thing. I don't know. I haven't actually looked in a long time. Let's do a live update on how many children have completed tasks. Now, a lot of them have commented and said things like "hi" in the thing, but is their work done?
Is there?
Well, over half of them have turned it in.
Okay.
So that now all these other ones I have to go and see in, but sometimes people do it and they don't turn it. So we'll see how that goes. But they got a large number of people currently have over 50% have done it and clicked the turn in button. So I'll have to go and see. Oh, this person, theirs is also done, but they did not hit the turn in button. So they're messing up my plan here for a live. So I'd say there's a pretty big number of people. This person emailed me earlier. Did they do it? They did. They just didn't turn it in. So that's all right. So I'll have to go through and just click through these later on. But it appears to be quite. They did. Look at them. Look at them doing things. Hooray.
Well, I have just learned because I have a little tab open here. I just flipped over to that, and our local school has called off for tomorrow. So it is an AMI day for them. So
there you go.
Wonder, here's hoping.
Who knows? Well, we'll find out. Yeah. I'm not going to go through all that right now, but so there you go. I'll have things to go through and click through and see how they did later on. I don't ever start grading until we actually get back because it's just supposed to be due when we return. So
yeah, you can't.
They still have time. There's still time.
Don't say that because then they actually won't do it. So
I mean, as of right now, as of this moment.
Oh,
I'm not going to start grading until I return to my desk.
No, he's right. no listeners. He is grading actively as of right now. The papers.
No, it's supposed to be due upon return to school. That's the policy. So if they are working on it right now, whatever, that's fine. I don't care.
Oh.
I want to go ahead and I want to grade it now, and then I'll miss if I give them a 0 because I haven't done it yet, but they're getting ready to do it. Yeah, that's not fair. So,
well, yeah, fine. Yeah, I was frantically. So we offer a service called poop scooping, and we scoop
you only personally.
I personally.
However, which may mean the service is not the best
really
use of your time if only you are doing it.
Only me. So with everything going on, I have these poop scooping services. And in one of our service areas, I was like, I'm really tired of me being the only one who does this.
I would also be very tired of that if I were you. Like so, extraordinarily tired.
It's like, because
I would have been done with that after the first week. Nope. Okay. Just kidding.
Now, I will say, on some level, it is very like transitive of like, you can just like, it's just you, some AirPods and the weather. And it's just,
it's like
poop scooper. And you're just chugging along. It's actually really nice, like really therapeutic in that sense. However, yes, it is also very frustrating because it does take like an hour or an hour and a half of your time. And it's like, I could be doing a million other things like this right now. So I made an executive decision where in one of our service areas, I basically contacted one of my employees who, I hired. And I was like, I am training you on this. Meet me at this person's house. And they were like, oh, okay, cool. And so I trained somebody on poop scooping this week.
Good job. Congratulations.
Look at
I'm
me.
proud of you.
Now, that's only in one service area. But
hey, you know what? That is a start.
It's baby steps. Did
you do it in the service area that you don't live in? Is that where you train this person?
No.
Ah, wow. Okay. Really kind of... You kind of did this backwards.
I did. I got to be opportunistic about it. And we moved it because it was supposed to be today, this morning. But because of all of the snow, I moved it to yesterday. And then that happened to slot nicely in with this other person's schedule. So I was like, hey, guess what you're going to do? You thought you were done? You're not done. Add an extra hat because it's really freaking cold outside. And we're just going to go mosey about somebody's yard for an hour. And it was really hard for me to not passenger driver this because the whole point is to like help somebody set up the system. And I have a system for how we do this. Like you walk the perimeter, and then you walk it back. And then you do transects of, north to south. And then you do other transects. Once you do that, then you do transects east to west. And then what you do is you go back to high traffic areas, or specifically around patios, decks, or like play equipment for kids. And make sure those areas are hit basically 3 times. And I'm walking the transects with the person and trying really hard to not be like, oh, are they going to miss that one? Are they going to get that one? Like it was anxious. It was so much anxiety getting closer because I don't want.
It's weird that you have such a problem letting go of the poop scooper, right? Such a weird sentence that you just made me say. I
know because it's like I'm here training. This is somebody. This is my employee who's literally been with me for coming up on 3 years. I shouldn't have this issue. I'm just walking them and talking to them, and I'm kind of using it just as a point to like catch up with them. Like that's fundamentally at the end of the day. I know they're going to be fine, but just me walking a path and I see the poop and me like feeling anxious of like, are they?
Oh my gosh,
are they going to see it? Do I need to speak up? And like you're getting closer and closer, and it's like, well, they're not reaching for it. So do I need to point it out? But I don't want to be that guy because I don't want to always be the one going, oh well, did you see that one? Oh, did you see that one? And so
you definitely don't do that. Oh God.
So I was very proud of myself. I didn't say anything in the moment. And I even let them miss 1 or 2 that I saw.
Oh my gosh, I'm surprised.
And then I was immediately like, oh, there's one right there. but
no.
It was a big like eye opener for me of just like, I'm supposed to be out here like enjoying this, but also like I was ratcheted up. And towards the end, I was able to come back down and relax and just have a conversation. And we were talking and it was fine. But I did notice that about myself yesterday. I was like, I have learned something about me. Like, this is weird. Why? So somebody has trained. So this is good news. And hopefully that will continue. But yeah, I was like, oh, I actually have to write. Like, so yeah, I wrote an SOP. a policy and like had a little diagram for like generally how to do transects. Well, because it's also very tempting.
I know, just the poop scooping diagram is right.
It's ridiculous. But here's the thing. What's the natural tendency whenever you see a little pile or you see something on the ground? You just kind of breadcrumb your way to the next one that you see and then the next one, and you don't see anything else that you have passed along the way. And so it's like, no, this needs to be orderly. This needs to be methodical. This needs to be in a way that you can
grid searched.
Grid searched.
Yes.
It's what it is. It's what I did. Double grid search because you go this way and then you go the other way. That's the kicker. And I did tell I did tell the employee, we have these kind of things in our business, and I'm usually not very like, we don't talk about them a whole lot, but it's fine. This is just a more costly service because nobody really wants to do this, and it takes so much of our time. So compared to our other services, it is more costly, and we have a clean yard guarantee or whatever of like, hey, if we miss more than you thought or whatever the language we have around that. And I told the person, I was like, look, we have this thing, but we don't actually want to have to come back over here and pay for that time. So don't miss anything. Thanks. But
which is not an all threatening sentence to be like, no, don't mess it up.
Don't mess it up. Don't mess up. And that's the good thing, right? It was very, very, very open, right? Meanwhile, my blood pressure is going through the roof as I'm taking another step closer to the poop pile that they may not have seen.
Oh, God.
I think this is all very normal, and
this is what normal
people do. I think
I think that's not true.
I think this is pretty fine.
I think it's not.
It's not fine. It's not fine.
It's not. No.
Oh my gosh. So yes, I am doing another one tomorrow in our other service area, but I don't have anybody to train because nobody's available. So unfortunately,
drat.
Maybe do I? Could I train somebody?
I don't know.
Maybe I could. I don't know if they'd be interested. That's the other problem of like, yeah, I hired people them to like give puppy cuddles and kitty kisses, not wander around aimlessly in people's yards scooping up poop. So
I mean,
that also makes it
it's
hard.
Fine. You are giving them monetary compensation for it.
Yes.
So it's like,
and I did tell the employee that of like, look, I know this isn't the best thing, and like probably this isn't the most fun you're gonna have, but like you can like this is just some extra hours that I have. These are hours that we have from time to time that I want to give you. I want to have you employed. Secretly, it's like I don't want to do these that much anymore, so. But this is for you.
Right, for you.
You.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Of course it is. Oh goodness. So anyway, yeah, so that's been fun. And just battling the cold. I think that's been the weirdest. I don't know. I wasn't, and apparently we're supposed to get more snow like this weekend, and then like next Tuesday already it's on the calendar. So
oh really?
Yeah. At least for us, we were supposed to get more snow on Saturday, and then next Tuesday is supposed to be like the next, the big one.
Oh,
already.
I did not know that.
For just so everybody else, I don't know if this is actually true. I'm just explaining this.
Nah, it's just a thing that I heard. So it's fine. Don't worry.
Yes, that's how this goes, right? I don't actually need to prove any of my statements. I can just say them, and then we can just move on. And I think that's what makes it work beautifully.
Well, if that's what the weather app says, then that's what we have to go with for now, right? You always have to take it with a grain of salt. Like, that's what it says now. Subject to change later. I'd worry about Saturday first and then go from there.
Yes,
exactly.
Right?
Just start with that one and we'll see where that goes. And then,
fine.
Yeah, and then we'll just, take a baby steps from that. But gotta start small, right? Like it's.
So anyway, that's been it's been fun. That's what we've been doing. That's what we. Oh, and I watched. I had some evenings that weren't quite so hectic or chaotic, and so I found some time to watch a program that I watched a while ago, but didn't really pay attention to because it's also like, this is really great background programming, except to check in every now and then. I watched more of James May's Reassembler.
Oh, yes.
This is fantastic programming.
Yes, I've seen these.
Yes.
Not for a while, but they show up on my thing every once in a while.
Yes, I highly recommend these. Basically, it's him putting something back together very slowly. And that's it. That's the whole pitch, people. And it's James May, so it's brilliant. And there's some history thrown in, but it's mostly him just like searching his toolbox for the right screwdriver. And I am here for this. I am here for this. I was like, oh my gosh, I do really enjoy this. So I that's what there you go.
Nice. I sometimes, whenever it shows up on my thing, I also all the Man Lab stuff is on YouTube as well.
Oh yeah.
So like it just pops up on my thing every once in a while. Like, oh, do you want to watch this? I'm like, well, actually, yes, I do. Like, how did you know? Like, that's exactly what I wanted to watch.
Yes. Yeah.
So there is like all of that stuff is on there as well. So if you need more James May to watch, you can watch those weird, like, do we need to solve this problem that is not really a problem in some really convoluted way? Why, yes, you do want to watch that.
Yes. Man, when did that come out? Oh yeah. Man,
they're quite old. Those are quite old, but they're pretty fun to watch every once in a while, right? So those are on there. There's even one I was watching it the other day, like because it was one of those things too. I was doing something else, and so I just had some background noise action, and it was just like the 2-hour compilation thing.
Nice.
It's like, all right, yep. Just turn it on the background and sit and listen to it, and then do right. It was fine.
Yes. Oh, that's brilliant.
So that was good. Like that. But yeah, I like those ones.
Oh, I also may need your help preparing again. I saw your help for this a while ago because you are our international correspondent. I am interviewing another pet sitter from New Zealand. So,
well, hey,
any refresher that you have, specifically if you are knowledgeable about local labor laws, would be bebeneficial to me right now.
Okay. So I don't really have a lot of information about that, but I'll see what I can do. Okay.
And I will say this is something that I try. I realized how much there's a lot of things in life that you do, or at least I do, where I just have a firm belief of I believe this is the amount of work that XYZ thing should take. And I believe that by putting in this work, you get a quality product out of it. And I try to apply that in all sorts of aspects. And then you find areas where it's where obviously other people don't think that same thing deserves that same amount of work or effort to make it happen. And when we put together an interview, I'm scouring the internet. I'm watching their shorts on Instagram Reels, or if they have a YouTube video, I'm watching that. I'll read blogs that they write. I'm doing all of this stuff to get to know the person so that I can come up with these questions. I'm trying to I'm doing so many Google Translate or how to name pronunciation videos and stuff to figure out how do you say this person's last name? Oh my gosh. I'm just trying to figure out okay, I'll listen to 5 different ones and kind of average them out and try to make a good guess. And then I did get interviewed. I was being interviewed for something, and this person had no idea like anything about like anything.
Who you are, why even you're here.
They didn't even know. They were just like, and like, so you do like I think you do like a pet sitting thing, right? And they weren't even trying to be like fake naive. Like I've had that happen before. Like, and I will do that too, where I'll feign like I don't know something because I'm trying to prompt a conversation.
Oh, because you're like, tell me more about XYZ,
like,
right?
They're like, oh, so I kind of got the gist that you like really like this thing. Could you tell me more? And it's like, actually, yeah, that's my thing. Yeah, how'd you know? Oh, wow. Right? Like, no, this was complete ignorance on their part, and I was like, oh.
So you didn't even like mess with them? You're like, so yeah, sometimes pets try to get away, so I sit on them.
I sit on them, obviously. No.
Right? So they can't run away.
No, I didn't do that. But it was just like
this time.
This time, yeah.
Probably because you didn't think of that yet. That's why you
one time I actually was interviewing somebody and they called themselves a pet nanny. And I said, oh, well, that's a very interesting term. I know a lot of people would just call themselves pet sitters. You know, tell me about why you call yourself a pet nanny and kind of how you see that different than a pet sitter. And just straight faced and deadly serious. I don't sit on pets. And that's all the person said. And I was like, well, anyway, like, tell me about how you got started.
Good to know.
I was like, they had such disdain for this word. And I was like, oh, well, that's sorry to touch on a sensitive.
Was not expecting such an angry answer. Okay, moving on. I
feel so. All this to say that the person who I'm interviewing has YouTube videos, and these are exceptionally beneficial because I'm trying to get into the mindset and like the groove of dialect and the groove of like just how words are said so that I can actually pay attention to the interview. And it's just so wonderful. It's such a beautiful language and I love it so much. And I'm very excited to get to talk to them. And that's all.
What, English is a beautiful language.
Right. Well, okay.
I don't know if you know this, Collin, but they speak English in New Zealand.
I know.
Big surprise for you, right?
They
do speak Maori as well.
They say words funny, though. They don't say the same words. They say them differently. And
I mean, but it's by and large, you can understand what they're talking about. It's not like the Australians where they just like have other names for everything.
Yes.
Where you're like, what? Because they can't be bothered to say like full words. They're like, nah, that's for losers. Saying full words, lame. Let me tell you what's cool. Abbreviating everything. That's the way to do it. Right. And they're not necessarily wrong about that, but it does sometimes like they're just talking and then all of a sudden you just go, what? I missed something. Especially when it's like a name of something, right? That's what they will like chop. You're like, right? Like, what's like?
Yes. This person is fully understandable. I just really like their accent. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say to people. I just like their accent. But yes, there are times where I'm like there was just, interviewing somebody and I found out that they were like when I interviewed the person from South Africa, it was like, okay, I need to listen to this accent for a little while so that I can understand this better and not like those things where it's like, oh, I don't hear this thing every day.
Some South African accents are quite heavy. And
yes.
Have a lot of Dutch in them. And you're like, what?
Yes. So for that one, I was just on South African, I was listening to like news programs and things like that, trying to just like get in this vibe so that whenever I sat down with this person, I wasn't just like, I'm sorry, what?
There was I don't remember what the name of the show is, but there was a show on National Geographic for a while and it was a dude in South Africa and his like girlfriend or wife or whatever. And their job was like snake removal. So people would call him up and be like, oh yeah, there's a bush cobra in my kitchen. And he'd be like, all right, mate, coming. And then they just like wrangle these like crazy, like, oh, there's a black mamba in my living room. Please help. And like, he just comes over whap, and then takes it out, like goes and re-releases it somewhere far off away from Durban or whatever. But like, that was the show. Like, oh, there's a forest cobra in my kitchen. Come get it out. And he would do that. Like, what? Just like, okay, do. Just like casually strolling in to get a black mamba out of somebody's living room. Like, what?
That's
how you casually do that? Just like, oh, yeah.
No, thank you.
No biggie.
No, thank you. I think I'll pass. No. I was like, yeah, I was interviewing somebody from England, and obviously their accents are very insane.
It depends on where they're from.
Yeah.
Obviously.
So like this guy, he had a very heavy Cockney accent.
Okay. That's a rough one.
I was like, okay. So
it's like from the Midlands. She's like, I actually can't understand a word you're saying right now.
I'm sorry. Can we get a third party in here? Like, no offense, but also like, beautiful. Sounds great. I don't know what you're saying. So I tried. This is what I'm saying. Like, this is one of the things where like you just kind of get into that groove where like, isn't this just what everybody does to solve this problem? And then you realize you are so like over engineering and so like going way past what
you were overthinking and over engineering a solution. I'm shocked. I tell you, I did not see that one coming at all.
Let me tell you about the time I was physically anxious as I approached a pile of poop, worried that the other person wasn't going to. Anyway,
yeah. Let me tell you about the time I mapped out a grid system for scooping poop from a backyard. Let me tell you. And my triple system to make sure that the door was locked, and the photo that we have to take in order to prove it to the clients. So, oh, Lord.
Fine. Oh. Yeah. No, when I'm training people and I'm like, let me tell you about the 3 different states of a door, and they're like, I'm sorry, what?
Solid, liquid, and gas.
No, it's shut. It's shut, locked, and latched, and they can exist. Oh. They don't. Like, we need to make sure they are. It's in all 3 of those states. But sometimes
door superposition, right?
Yes.
Like Nick.
No. Yeah. And when you like, it's like I've told people, I'm like, look, I'm going to talk about doors for about 10 minutes right now. Trust me, it is my goal to make you really anxious about doors while you work for me. So welcome to my world.
It's my job to give you a new neurosis that you did not know existed up until this point. I feel like that's not necessarily the job of a boss. Collin.
You'll be talking to your therapist about this one later. Walk this way.
Years.
Let me talk to you. Let me show you about the horrors of doors. See how this one looks like it's shut? It's not shut. And because it's not shut, it's also not latched. Look at this door. It's shut, but it's not latched. I can just push on it and it opens right up. Oh, we have a client who their front door has no door handle. No door handle. It's this big, huge double door. Dumbledore. And you
jeez.
And all you do is you push in the door code, and then the door just swings open. This
like a vault, like a vault door.
Yeah, there's no like little chunk or little lever or thing that you pull or whatever. As soon as the deadbolt is gone,
unsatisfying.
I know, and also how terrifying, because it's like if you do not then turn and lock this door, it is just going to swing open, and the dog will run out into the front yard, and we don't want that. So I found a new level,
because then you have to sit on it to get it to stop running.
Yes, and they'll like it. Oh my gosh. So anyway, that's my 10 minutes on doors there.
I don't think it's very normal to do that. It's my 2 cents here. What do I know?
Yeah. What are things that keep you up at night? Are they doors? Are they piles of poop?
No.
Tell me. Oh my gosh.
Indeed. Before we I have really nothing else. I didn't do anything this week. I was only in school for 2 days, and then but I do have a metal band of the week.
Oh my gosh.
That's right. Still finding them, right?
I don't know how you're doing this. I don't know.
Oh, we are doing this. You better.
No, I said I don't want to know. I don't want to know how you're doing this and what corners of the internet you're having to scrape these things out of, because
there's a lot of Reddit involved here.
No.
Well, just like lists. Like, hey, here are some lists. Sure. Speaking of the land down under, today's band does come to you.
Oh my gosh.
From Australia.
Why is this a thing? Why is this
right?
a thing?
It is, right?
Oh no.
This is I believe Sacrifinx, maybe? Question mark. I think that's who this is. I think that's how you pronounce this name. Not really 100% sure. I didn't do the old like, you know, I forgot to do the pronunciation lookup here, but I'm going to send you their Bandcamp thing.
Yeah, thanks.
He's like that. But I listened to the Western Front album. This is from February 2013. Oh. Right? I don't think they're currently together anymore. I don't know. It's also just like two dudes, also, I believe.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know. I think they have. I don't think they're active currently. Right. I don't believe they are. But it's pretty cool. Right. I like this one. I don't know if it was like. I think. Like, I don't know exactly here, but I feel like the vocals weren't like as good as some of the other ones. Right. Maybe that was just like the production and how they were mixed in the thing. I'm not sure. Maybe just the style wasn't. I don't really know. Okay. Like I said, not death metal enthusiast. This one was also a little bit like slower, a bit more like just like normal metal. There's a lot of like just like straight up metal in there, which was okay because I like that better. With some different style vocals, but like not like they weren't like really extreme or like really guttural or like really like brutal sounding. They're just kind of like there, right? So it was okay, but it was not bad. The EP is pretty good. It's only I do love a 30-minute album, right? This is kind of my jam, right? This is just like in all music genres. This is what I like.
Yeah.
Right. I like to be able to I like to listen to the whole thing. Right.
Sure.
So I don't really like super long albums. Right. There's a few exceptions, right? You know, every once in a while you need Dream Theater in there, you know, things like that. But like, I don't love like mega long things. So I did really love the length of this. A couple of the songs were really good. They do have the obligatory like acoustic song in there, right?
Which one is that?
Let me see the track list here. I think it's like the third.
Fatal From Light?
No, the number 6, right? The Pass Ridge one. That one. That one's like a acoustic-y track, right? But
okay.
Yeah. There we go. I didn't like it quite as good as some of the other ones, right? I still think that 1914 is my favorite one that I listened to so far.
Yeah.
But I did like this one, right? I think there's something weird with the vocals on this one. I'm not sure. Again, as a non expert in this area, right?
You're expanding your repertoire on a daily basis a bit.
True. So yeah, that was the metal band of this week, Sacrifinx. I think is how you say that. We're gonna go with that, and let us know, Sacrifinx, if that is correct or not. Right? I'm sorry for butchering your name. I apologize.
It's okay. I don't think they'll be bothered too much.
never know, right? So that's how we go.
Okay. Well, that's cool. I will obviously have that in our show notes. We can add.
There you go.
Do that.
For your listening pleasure.
And then you're just building out the massive playlist of
right. Keeps going. Yeah. So now I gotta do some tomorrow. Dive back into the trenches, as it were, and go looking for more. Right. Is what
not what we need. Well, I mean, I think that's we'll end on that high note before we dive into the book, because
it's gone well.
Megan.
Yeah, you don't want it. You said, man,
I know.
You know what makes a good winter read? Something more sad. Well, Collin, guess what?
Guess what? It turns out that this is really I don't know.
Turns out Farewell to Arms is the answer to that, right? That's what
it is. I think chapter 29 is this this really is where it all really just goes wrong. Wrong. Everything up until this point has been kind of a inconvenience. It's not their favorite part, but they're retreating. And obviously, okay, it's not as bad because he's in the field and he's not with Catherine and, blah, 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 blah. But now we get to 29 and this really changes the tone of the rest of the book. At least.
Yeah.
Right?
I would say. Right. Well, they do say that, in literature and the arts, rain is often a symbol of changing, right? And ta-da! Let me show you this chapter, right?
Well, yeah, because we get in here,
and again, we start right off, right? The very first line: at noon, we were stuck in a muddy road, right?
Yep. And this scene of them just literally bogged down, just stuck, unable to move, and kind of frantically trying. They're giving everything their best effort to get this out of there. And it's just and while they're here, they're watching the planes, right, fly overhead, which is what he was worried about for staying in the main line to begin with. Right. Yes. He was like, oh man, we're just sitting ducks here. We've got to get out of here. But now he's also a sitting duck watching planes fly right overhead.
Yes. And so they're trying to get the cars out. They're stuck. Right. Surprise. And the sergeants just leave. They're just forget it. Right. They just leave. And they started off down the road without a word. He goes after him, starts yelling at them, get back over here, we got to do this. And they just walk off. They're like, I order you, get back here. And they're like, shut up, you don't know, whatever, we're leaving, right? And so he shoots them.
Well, specifically, he aimed at the one who talked the most. Fired. And you could just sense of this. This is
desperation, right?
Pure desperate. We need everybody. Everybody's needed right now. And he's the only one that's trying to keep this together at this moment. And I don't know if this is more of him stepping up to take charge and take over here, or if this is really also a kind of a condemnation of nobody else was going to do this. And I know he also had position over everybody, so it's kind of him to lead this as well. But just this pure desperation and frustration as well of literally nobody's listening to me. And I really felt that as he was saying halt, and they don't even respond, right? They just keep walking away. And it's just this, no, I need this right now. And you're not even giving me the dignity of saying no. You're just walking away, complete loss of control.
Yeah. they were problematic anyway, because they were trying to steal from the house and all that.
Yeah,
stuff. So,
right. So these were
he
not
shoots
good
at them,
dudes.
and he hits one of them, right? One of them, the other one, like, runs off. And we think he's fine. But one of them is shot, and he's laying in the thing, and one of the other guys says, I'll go finish him off for you. Give me a gun. I'll go shoot him. Right. And he does. He just walks up there and shoots him in the head. Right. Like, what in the world? It escalated so quickly all of a sudden. Right. Like, very, very dramatic. Right. And then they just come back and just like, okay, we're going to start digging. Try harder. Right. It's very weird and abrupt. Right. Like,
yeah, they're all just completely like, oh yeah, well, yeah, no, obviously you could. It's basically like, yeah, you couldn't have shot the other one. He was too far, but like that's too bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, this car, and it's like, I'm sorry, what? How do you like in the movie of this? The rest of the team would have been like in arms about like, I can't believe you did that, and this guy's crazy, and we got to take his gun, and we got to blah blah, and like this is I can't believe he went that. But they're just like, yep, okay, back to the problem with the cars. They were useless. It's like, yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they try to get him unstuck. It doesn't really work. They're like, we're gonna have to walk. They send the girls away because the girls are still in the other truck, right?
Yeah.
And they try to get in the different car and they try to drive that one a ways, but it doesn't really make it very far across the field. And so they just like give up. And they say, all right, you guys go back that way towards the road and you'll be fine. Just go that way. They gave him some money and they just point like, go that way. All right, blah. And then they just sort of, right? They just kind of take stock and go. They talk about how they wish they had bicycles. That would be much better. Like, I wish I had bicycles. It's not no walker. Right. I don't like walking. Give me a bicycle. Right.
Yeah.
So you start walking in there bantering, and then this like really, right? Like, I don't know, like this kind of sets in what's happened, right?
Oh, right, because Bonello is saying, or Bonello, how you pronounce it?
Yeah, Bonello.
He's suddenly like, I've been in war this whole time, and I've never killed anybody.
But he's like, well, the other guy's like, yeah, you shot that sergeant. He's like, yep, I sure did. It's kind of like they're just kind of trying to play it off, and but he's kind of like, that's what he just keeps talking about it. He's kind of like, you could tell he's just sort of now registering what happened, right? Because in the moment he just did what he had to, he did what he thought had to be done, and now he's like struggling with the consequences, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So he even says, what will you say in confession? He says, I'll say, bless me, Father, I killed the sergeant. And they all laughed. Right? Like, yeah.
Guess that's it, right? Like, and that's all the further processing we're going to get here, because then they start talking about antichrists and socialists and
but they're just like joking. They're just like making jokes about these things, right? Like, to try to play it off like whatever. And that's the end. Yeah, and that brings us to chapter 30, which is the big long one here, right?
Yeah, that brings us to 30. So yeah, this again, like 29, really, this brought, so this whole time too, like, yeah, sure, like we've got violence happening to people. Now we have our main character, like this is actual violence that's taking place, and it's all becoming like really close to him too right now. And the implications of this. So this whole time he's been so apathetic, so like couldn't care less. It's way over there, right? It's on the other side of the mountains. It's over there, and now he's the one pulling the trigger, and it just shows how close this is. That nobody escapes from this. Nobody gets out of this thinking that they're not part of this right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's come to them, right? And it's not going away. Spoilers. Like, it's not.
Yeah. No, it's not. Because again, we were wet and muddy, and the muddy was stuck in desperation, and we're still wet and muddy, and mud's everywhere.
Yeah. So when we keep going here, they get to the bridge, right? Later we were on the road and that led to the river. And so they were trying to figure out, we got to cross the river, right? So how are we going to do that? What are we going to do? You know, they're trying to blow it up. They're like, oh, is it mined? He's like, nah, it's probably not mine. It's fine. Yeah, everything's fine. It might be mine, but it's okay. You go first, Lieutenant. Well, you go first.
Yeah, he's like, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah, and he goes over it. He's like, come one at a time. He's watching the ties and the rails for any tripwires or signs of explosives, but saw nothing. And is this the one where they're disappointed that they hadn't blown it, or that they thought they were going to blow it? Because I know they.
No, so they were. There's one down. So there's one down there, and it's blown up. And then there's this one, which
right
isn't blown up. And then they look. As they cross this one, they're looking upstream to a different bridge.
Oh, that's right.
Right, that isn't blown up. And they're like, why didn't they blow that one up? That's the main road. Why did they not blow that one up? And they see the Germans advancing across that bridge.
And here again, we see more.
They see the car
that's lost, because the whole point of this was to get to Udine or whatever. Like they need to get to this place. This is the place we're going to go to, and then we're going to figure it out. But they're there, right? They're crossing the bridge.
The Germans are crossing the bridge. Yeah. So they're like, oh.
And he looks over, and there were Germans already there. And it's going, oh, this is a whole lot messier, right? Like anyway, that was just my realization when I was reading this, going, oh no, this was supposed to be the safe place.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. So the Germans are there already. And then there's a staff car that comes by, and then like, awkwardly, a bunch of Germans on bicycles come riding by, right?
Funny.
Which is kind of funny because they were talking about how they wish they had bicycles, but like now we have the German bicycle brigade here coming by here, you know, and they're like, oh no, those aren't those are Germans. Those because none of the other guys saw it, and they're like, because he's like, didn't you see the car? Didn't you see the soldiers? And he's like, they're like, no, we were watching you. Make sure you didn't get blown up. So. Then they're like, oh no, those are not Austrians. Those are Germans. Oh no. And we learned before, we don't want to deal with Germans. No. So now they're like kind of panicking, right? They're like, well, our plan is not really working because, like you said, the safe zone is not safe. So now we have to figure out what to do now. And we're on foot, and we're only kind of sure where we are, right? Like, not 100% sure what's happening here. So this is
well, and this is where Frederick this is where he says, why isn't there somebody here to stop them? I said, why haven't they blown the bridge? Why aren't there machine guns along the embankment? Because he's going, that was the plan. Like, we were going to come here for safety. And then Bonello says, you tell us. And this is the first time that Frederick expresses really any sign, sign of anger. It says, I was angry. And it's like everybody has let this down, and this has been completely in shambles.
Yeah.
Oh, and then, yeah, right. Sorry. I just clicked the next button. And my next point was like, because then he asks more questions. He says, the whole bloody thing is crazy. Down below, they blow up a little bridge. Here, they leave a bridge on the main road. Where is everybody? Don't they try and stop them all? And then Bonella asks, you tell us. This moment of like, well, aren't you, like, you're higher up. You tell us why this didn't happen. Like, we're looking to you now. Like, you need to be answering these things for us too. And he just says, I shut up. It was none of my business. All I had to do was now get to Pordenone or whatever with 3 ambulances. And I had failed at that. And all I had to do now was to get to this place, and I could probably not even get into Udine. It's like, I don't have answers for any of this because the one thing that I was just supposed to do has completely fallen off the rails, and I failed at that. So I don't know what to do now.
Yeah. And so he says, hey, did you have that canteen open with wine in it? And they just, that's the solution, right?
That's the solution, right?
So
right. Isn't it though? Isn't it always Frederick's way of escapism?
That is his go-to, right? So So they did walk along the railroad track, right? And then, right, they get shot at.
Yeah.
They get shot at. Boom, a shot was fired at us from the side road. The bullet went into the mud of the embankment. So they yell like, "Oh, back, back, back." And then they realize that's not the Germans. Those can't be, there can't be Germans over there.
Yeah.
Those are the Italians. The Italians are shooting at us. But then they talk about how it's because they're so afraid, right? And they're just like looking out and they're scared and they're trying to defend. But because everything is a disaster and it's not, gone the way it's supposed to go, they're just shooting at the wrong people and they've shot them.
And
right?
they shot Imo or Imo?
They hit Amo. Yeah,
Amo.
or Imo, whatever.
Yeah.
They killed him. Right? Boom. Right? And Bonello even goes, well, he's like, yeah, I think you're right. I suppose if they were Germans, they'd killed all of us.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Again.
Yeah, the rear guard are afraid of everything. The Germans know what they're after. Right? So So yeah, where do we go now? Well, we better lie up someplace till it's dark. And so now there's just 3 of them left, and they kind of sneak off, and they find a barn, right? They just sort of leave Amo there, just kind of cover him up with his little cape or whatever, and then they just leave him there, and they head off, and they find another little farmhouse, right? They stay up in the barn. They're going to stay up in the barn because there's like little windows up there and they can see kind of out. And so they're just they're going to do the old thing. We're going to search through the thing. He says, we ought to lie up in the barn. Do you think you could find anything to eat? And Piani says, yeah, I'll look. And Bonello says they'll look too. And he says, I'll go make way. I'll go look in the barn. So he goes up there and he kind of checks it out and he sees if it's all right. And he's talking about how there's a way, there's like a hay chute, so there's like a way to escape if they get cornered up there, and they can pry open the windows to peek out. And he's like very like focused right now about their problem, right? Because he knows that this is kind of a big deal, right? He even mentions again, like there are Germans here and there are Germans everywhere. Then it's not impossible that there are Germans here, but the Italians are still the most dangerous because, after all, they did kill Amo, right?
Well, yeah. And he again talks about how scared they are, how frightened they are of firing anything. And he goes into to say that there were these rumors that there were Germans in Italian uniforms mixing with the retreat in the north. And you can see how this would be a total tail spun to kind of get off people who pulled the trigger because on their friend or on somebody and thought, oh no, I thought it was a German coming up behind me. Yeah. And I was like, well, yeah, he's like, I do not believe so. That was not one of those things that was one of those things you always heard in the war. It was one of the things the enemy always did to you. You did not know of anyone who went over in German uniforms to confuse them. Maybe they did, but it sounded difficult. I did not believe the Germans did it.
Yeah. I was going to say the last part. He's like, I did not believe they had to. There was no need to confuse our retreat.
Yes.
The size of the army and the fewness of the roads did that. Nobody gave any orders, let alone Germans. Still, they would shoot us for Germans. They shot Amo. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. And then he goes into a fugue state. Something happens here. We transition to time in a hayloft in Milan. Is that what happens at this point?
I think it's a little. Is that here? Is that he's sort of like talking about stuff, right? He's kind of like,
well, because he says, we had lain in hay and talked and shot sparrows with an air rifle when they perched in the triangle cut high up in the wall of the barn. The barn was gone now. In 1 year, they had us cut the hemlock woods. And
I think he's talking about when he was a kid.
Back home.
Right?
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Dried treetops and branches and firewood where the woods had been. Right. You could not go back.
Oh, my gosh.
Right. if you did not go forward, what happened? Right. And then he says, you never got back to Milan. So he's like, he's thinking, I think he's thinking about his childhood. Right. And then he's thinking about, then I think he's sort of starting to think about Catherine because he's like, you never got back to Milan. And if you got back to Milan, what would happen anyway? Right.
Yeah.
And then I could hear machine guns firing.
But that transition of, because he's talking about basically how these memories that he has are of places that don't exist anymore. The barn's not there. The wood's not there. So you can't go back to those. There's nothing there for you. Even the memories aren't good enough. There's nothing to go back and even find solace there because it's not real. And then you're right, that transition into Milan of like, there's no reason to go back there because there's nothing there for you. Even those memories are worthless and pointless right now because what would you even do? You can't make anything happen there. The trees aren't going to grow back, right? You can't rebuild the barn to make it like when you were a kid. It just doesn't exist. And there's just this deep, like, sadness, like, man, this is, when he said, like, you could not go back. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So then he hears somebody coming, right? And he goes, oh, I should help. He's like, oh, yeah, I should help come up the ladder. Right. So he goes over there. All right. He says, I was vague in the head from lying in the hay. I had been nearly asleep. Right. And he helps Piani up there. And he says, where's Bonello? And he goes, well, he went away, Tenente. He wanted to be a prisoner. He was afraid we would get killed. So he just thought, well, if I just go off and maybe they capture me and maybe I don't die that way instead of they find us and they shoot us like they shot Aimo, right? Like,
yeah.
So he just kind of said, eh. So now there's just two. All of a sudden, now there's just two people.
Oh, and you can tell. And then there's this phrase. They're going back and forth. They're having a conversation. He's like, why didn't you go? I didn't want to leave you. Where did he go? I don't know, Tenete. He went away. All right, I said. Will you cut the sausage? Piani looked at me in the half light. I cut it while we were talking. Like, and I don't know if this is a, like, oh no, I already did that. Like, you should have said that. Or if this was really to show that Frederick was really not present and paying attention.
Yeah. He's kind of freaking out. Right. And it's things are going so badly. Right. That we even the wine is not good. Right. Which is, this is very interesting because it's the first time that this has happened. Right. Where he talks about it and he's like, says it must have been wine that they had saved for a wedding. It was so old it was losing its color. And then just kind of as this page goes on, he kind of talks about it, he's like, it's just not, he like keeps bringing up how it's not good. It's not.
Well, and I think this is another example of, he said, I drank the wine and it did not make me feel good.
Yeah.
Every other time that we've had talks of drinks or things, it was his escapism and a way of not dealing with it.
It's like a numbing, right?
This was supposed to make me feel like I'm not here. And he's drinking. It's just water, right? It's just, he's actively trying to get drunk to numb what's going on and disappear. And it's not doing any of that. And, it didn't say that it made me feel sick. It didn't say it made me want to throw up. He said, it didn't make me feel good. Like I wanted that feeling.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel good right now.
Yeah. So they decide to just kind of lay low. And
in the rain.
Goes to sleep. Right. He lets him sleep for a while. He doesn't, and then he wakes him up and says, okay, we got to go. So they decide they're going to try to go somewhere else. They're going to sneak in, just kind of walk off and see what they can figure out where to go, right? It's kind of like, well, we don't really have a plan, but we're going to go this way and we're going to see what happens, right?
Germans are all around them, right? They get passed a couple times through this process too.
Yeah, we got past the town to the north without seeing any Italians. Then after a while, we came to the main channel of the retreat and walked all night towards Tagliamento. I had not realized how gigantic the retreat was. Yeah. The whole country was moving. as well as the army. So they've joined the main line again, basically, right? They kind of fallen back into the main line, you know, and we got back. It seemed so silly for Benello to have taken prisoner. There was no danger. We had walked through 2 armies without incident. If Amo had not been killed, there would have never have seemed to be any danger, right? But that event was just so traumatic. And
well, yeah, he said
he keeps wondering about where Benello is, right?
Yeah, and he said the killing came suddenly and unreasonably.
Yeah,
I wonder where Benello was. Again, he's, I don't know, disassociating, having trouble, wondering what's going on here. But like on one hand, he's like, there was no danger. There's no danger. But Amo is dead. The killing came suddenly and unexpectedly, unreasonably. But which is exactly what killing is, right? Unreasonable in a lot of these cases.
Yeah.
And he's really trying to work through this.
Yeah. And then Piani kind of brings up some things like, so what are you going to tell them about Benello? He goes, well, I don't know. He's like, well, you see, if the war went on, it could make bad trouble for his family. So maybe you should just tell him that he was taken prisoner. Just tell him he was prisoner, right?
Oh, yeah.
Just say like, oh, he got taken prisoner so that you don't make trouble, right? Right. So they're talking about this, and then all of a sudden, somebody hears him call him by his rank, and like, the other people start yelling, and he's like, "Oh, maybe I should call you by your name. They've shot some officers. They want to make trouble, right?" And so that's kind of our first hint that it's gone. It's not going well at all. So they
yeah, when you have that
kind
of thing where all of a sudden it's like, oh no, you need to be kind of hiding a little bit because there's active not mutiny here, but like there's great disdain from this.
Yeah.
And then
so
they find them in the peace brigade, right? Because they were talking about like, oh, we're throwing down our rifles. And we're fine here, right? Because we're done, right? We're done fighting, right? Because this is what people have been saying all along. Well, if we just throw our rifles down, we'll be fine. No, what's the problem here? So we're just peace, right? We're just peace right here. And he also makes a note to say, I didn't see anybody throw their rifles, and everybody still had them in their hands.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and he even starts talking about it because they're like, well, why did the Germans stop? They shouldn't have stopped. He's like, I don't know, but I think that's why this war will go on. Like the Germans could come on. I said, I wonder why they don't. And then he's like, I don't know anything about this kind of war. Like Piani's just like, I have no idea what's happening. What? So we keep walking. We just get more talking. Your feet are tired. Yep, they're sore. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Is this where? Yes. So right here, they come across. They get to more like of another place here. They're on the bank of the Tagliamento, right? Yeah, on another bridge, and they find more people. They find a bunch of officers here, right?
And it's crowded, right?
It's very crowded.
Really crowded.
Yeah. And somebody came up and we
were almost across.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a big lieutenant colonel here, right? And he's like grabbing people and shoving them, right? And he he said he came to the edge of the column toward me. I felt him take me by the collar. What's the matter with you? I said, and hit him in the face. Right? Like, So they grab him and they take him over here, and they're the battle police, right? The MPs, I guess, right? And they're basically saying, well, the office. This is the officers are at fault for this whole shenanigans, right? So take him with the others. So they're collecting officers, right? And they're sticking them over here, and they're interrogating them. What's your brigade? Where's your regiment? Why are you not with your regiment? Right? Do you not know that an officer should be with his troops? So he's listening to them interrogate these other people, and he's talking about how why did you do this? Blah blah blah. And the guy even lifts back to him and said, "Have you ever been in a retreat?" And he says, "Italy should never retreat."
Yeah.
And we were facing the officers, and the prisoners stood in front of the little to one side. And so they're just basically like court-martialing them and executing them right here because they think that it's their fault. So they're basically trying to get everybody rounded up and to turn them around and to fight the Germans more.
Yeah.
But to do this, they were just executing all the people who they thought were at fault, right? They were executing officers of the rank of major and above who were separated from their troops. Right? They were also summarily dealing with German agitators in Italian uniforms. Right? So this thing that's not real, this thing that's not actually existing, they're up in arms in a fuss, and this is their solution to deal with the problem that doesn't exist.
It's this level of paranoia.
Yeah.
Right? And it is, they said, they were questioning someone else. This officer, too, was separated from his troops. He was not allowed to make an explanation. He cried when they read the sentence from the pad of paper, and they were questioning another man when they shot him. They made a point of being intent on questioning the next man while the man who had been questioned before was being shot. So they were actively doing both of these at the same time, basically to prove a point of like, this is exactly where you're going, and there's nothing that you can do about this. Yeah, he said, I saw how their minds worked. If they had minds, if they worked. They were all young men, and they were saving their country. The Second Army was being reformed beyond the Tagliamento. They were executing officers, as you said, with rank above. They're also dealing with these agitators. Like he's starting to see like, right, I'm separated. And also they said I have an accent. And
so he's a German, obviously.
Yes.
Right. So we stood in the rain and we were taken out one at a time to be questioned and shot. So far, they had shot everyone they had questioned. The questioners had that beautiful detachment and devotion to stern justice of men dealing in death without being in any danger of it.
Yeah.
Right. They were questioning a full colonel of a line regiment. 3 more officers had just been put in with us. And so, you know what? He's kind of sitting there and he goes, nah, screw this. And he just takes off running. Knocks one of them over and dives into the water. Right? Like, I mean, what else are you gonna do? Right? Like, well, this is a lose-lose situation because there's no way he's getting out of this with not getting shot. So he just makes a break for it, right?
Yeah.
And the he just does. He tripped on the edge and went in with a splash. But it was I do like it's all very serious. He says, it was easy to stay under with so much clothing on and my boots. Yeah, like that's fair.
Yeah, well, because he's worried about coming back up and getting shot after.
Well, I mean,
this, right? Like, and he's just hanging on to this piece of wood.
Yeah, he grabs a piece of wood and he just lets it take him.
Just again, this like whatever happens. And it's interesting because as he came in over the bridge, he noted that the water was within like 3 feet of the bridge, and it was rushing because it's all the rain. And
it's very high up,
very high. And here now he's literally just being swept away with this. Yeah. And that's what he does.
just boom. Right? Yeah. And yeah, so that the leads us here, like, you do not know how long you are in the water when the current moves swiftly.
Oh, yes.
It seems a long time, and it may be very short, right? The water was cold and in flood, and many things passed that had been floated off the banks when the river rose. So he's just hanging on for the ride at this point, right? In the next chapter, he just whoosh, boom. He realizes there's not any bridges around here, and he's pretty good, right? But man, he didn't really have. Yeah, he says, I hung onto the willow branch and did not have strength to pull myself up. So he basically like lets go of his branch and just grabs a tree, right? That's going by. And I held onto the branch and waited. When the sick feeling was gone, I pulled on the bushes and rested again, my arms around some bush, holding tight with my hand to the branches. And then I crawled out, pushed on through the willows and onto the bank. Boom. Right. So he's out of the river, not in a great way.
Nope.
And I began to think of what I should do. What should you? I don't know.
Yeah. And now he's starting talking about feeling hollow, feeling sick. I think throughout the rest of this chapter, we start seeing the theme of hunger, right? Emptiness start creeping in more and more throughout this.
He did also make sure that he said, before I put my coat on, I cut the cloth stars off my sleeve and put them in my pocket.
Yes.
Just to make sure, like,
checked his paper, checked his money. He had everything, and he's just heading out now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he even saw some troops, so they just didn't pay him any mind. He just walked, right? That day I crossed the Venetian plain. It's a low-level country, and under the rain is even flatter. Boom. So he's just going down, just walking, right? He's getting his hobbit on, and he's just going for it.
But now he developed some plan to get to a different town, right? Because he comes across a railroad track.
Yeah, he sees a train. He said, I'm going to wait. And he wants to hop the train. He's tired of running. Well, walking, really. And so he says, wow, he kind of has an idea where it might be going. It's the main line from Venice to Trieste. I don't know.
That's good.
Yeah, my Italian is bad. Sorry. Trieste, maybe? Venese. Sorry. Then so he's gonna catch a train, right? He's gonna catch a train. So there's a guard on the bridge, but he just kind of sneaks around. This is like those train hopping videos that I watch on YouTube sometimes, right? This is kind of what it reminded me of.
Real for you, just like
I was like, I've seen this. I know what's happening. I've seen them do this before, right? Mm-hmm. My boy Shy is him right here, right? Channeling him.
Nice.
So he's like, he's kind of sneaking around, and I knew there'd be guards, and so he kind of goes farther back, and he's kind of angled himself where there's a person up on a bridge, and there's somebody on the other side of the thing, right? So he's just waiting. So he's kind of like waiting in a little ditch or whatever. So he sees the engineer pass, and he stood up and he stepped up close to the cars. So there's some freight cars passing, and then there's like a low open car gondola that's covered in canvas. So it's going real slow through there. So he just kind of stands up, and he just grabs hold of the handrail and hops up there. And he has to like kind of cut open the little ties that hold on the canvas so that he can like get in. So it's like an open top gondola car, but it's got a canvas covering over it.
But before this, he passes the guard, and he says,
"Oh yeah, is that? Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's right before this. there was a guard in the freight car. He was looking forward. I let go of the handrails. Oh, wait. Oh no. Okay, so yeah, no. The guard on the bridge or whatever.
He's on the no. He's like he's like standing.
Yeah.
So he's in between the cars.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And
the guy is like on the platform.
Well, you mean guy?
Well,
it says he was a boy.
Yeah.
His helmet was too big for him.
Yeah.
And I stared at him contemptuously, and he looked away. He thought I had something to do with the train. We were past. Of course, I saw him still looking uncomfortably, watching the other cars past, and I stooped. Right, so like it also just goes to show like there's not a whole lot of other people in charge too. Like we're at the point kind of in this war where like children are being put on the front lines and being asked to do things. Like that's where we are, people.
Yes.
And here, like now here is what you're saying, where he was trying to get into that canvas.
Yeah, and he gets it open, and he like tries to dive in there, and he smashes his head.
Oh my gosh!
On the
something he didn't know
on whatever's in there. But it's a gun, right? I was under the canvas with guns. They smelled cleanly of oil and grease. I lay and listened to the rain on the canvas and the clicking of the car on the rails.
Literally,
so
he's now lying on top of guns. Okay, the guy who doesn't want anything to do with this. He's so fed up. He's tired. He never wanted to even really be a part of this. He didn't like carrying a gun. He's literally laying on a bed of guns.
I think these are like mortars or like big guns. Right?
Oh, sure.
That's what these are. Yeah.
But still, he's laying on top of them. Yeah. Not like, like rifles or whatever. But like, like weapons of war. He's now here. And what did he say? Like, is this where he, he said, he would have to move out beforehand. I knew have to get before they got to Mestre because they would be taking care of these guns. They had no guns to lose or forget about. Basically, they're desperate. Like they're not going to just forget about these things.
And in typical Hemingway fashion, immediately after that sentence is, "I was terrifically hungry." Like what?
Yep. And then we start the next one, where he says, "Lying on the floor of the flat car with the guns beside me, under the canvas, I was wet, cold, and very hungry."
Yeah.
And we get into a weird discussion here about how once a doctor works on you, like your body doesn't belong to you anymore. It belongs to the doctor who fixed you up.
Yeah, because he's like, because he kind of moving his knee around. He's like, Valentini really had done a good job, right? He was. So the doctors did things to your body more. The head was mine, and inside of the belly, it was very hungry in there. I could feel it turn over on itself. The head was mine, but not to use, not to think with, only to remember, and not much to remember, right? Not too much remember. And he's like, I can't think about Catherine right now because I'll go crazy. So I'd have to think about other things like this flat car and this cold floor and how hungry I am.
Yeah. He has this, but he does a very bad job not thinking about Catherine.
Oh, he does a very bad job, right?
Yeah, because he said, the clothes wet and the floor moving only a little each time, lonesome inside, wet clothing and hard floor for a wife. You did not love the floor of a flat car, nor guns with canvas jackets and the smell of Vaseline metal, or a canvas that rain linked through, although it is very fine under a canvas and pleasant with guns. But you loved someone else, whom now you knew was not even to be pretended there.
Yeah. And he starts talking about how empty he is and how he's like, he has a weird extended analogy about salesmen. But then basically like this is him going like, I'm done, right? I'm not going back to the army. I'm over this, right? The anger was washed away in the river along with any obligation.
Love that line. I had that highlighted twice in a note, and I was just about to read it when you read it. Like this washing away, and can we like almost like it was his baptism of sorts through this.
Yeah, it really kind of was, right? Like, or a reverse baptism, like I don't know, but like, yeah, it's a new beginning for sure. The river is a new beginning, right?
Yeah,
he came out of that river a different person, because before he was trying to hold on to some sense of duty. He was trying to do the right thing, and it was just all going so badly that he's just given up, right? And I said, this whole section this whole paragraph is very interesting, right? Which is like, although that, after the anger had washed away in the river along with any obligation, I would like to have had the uniform off, although I did not care much about the outward forms. I had taken off the stars, but that was just for convenience. It was no point of honor. It was not against them. I was through. I wish them all the luck. There were the good ones and the brave ones and the calm ones and the sensible ones, and they deserved it. But it was not my show anymore. And I wish this bloody train would get to Mystery, and I would stop, and I would eat and stop thinking. I would have to stop.
Yeah, this isn't for me anymore, right? You guys go do your own thing. I just, yeah. And then he goes on to say, like, what other people would do. He said, Piani would tell me that I wish that they shot me. They took the papers of the people that they would shot. They would not have my papers, and they'd probably just say that I was drowned, right? And he's just working through all this stuff of what was actually going to happen, and start thinking also, like, what are the ramifications of this in the States, right? What's my, what was it? His granddad was sending him money, or like talking with him sometimes. Like, you see him kind of blip over there for a real quick second of like, what's that impact? But anyway, back over to the priest and Rinaldi, and he just starts going down about what are now the lives, what's going to happen to all these other people, and you do see that he now has a sense of attachment to these, where
to some of them, right? Yeah, to the people, right? Not necessarily the idea of the army and the war, but the people. He's going to miss. Yeah, he does say, I wonder how Rinaldi's doing. I wonder how the priest is doing, right? Yep. So this is where he's trying to figure out what is he going to do now. He's basically saying, well, I hope Rinaldi's good. I hope the priest is good. How do I find Catherine, though?
Yeah,
this is going to be a problem, right? I think, and he says, like, he's like, yeah, I think she'll go. I hope she'll go with me, right? Right. Yeah. When would we go? That was something to think about. It was getting dark. I lay and thought where we would go. There were many places. Boom.
Book 4.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. 29 was really a turning of the tide.
Yeah, for real.
Like, real. So that was a lot. It was a lot to take in that chapter, those chapters that we read. Just the difference of, like, we thought that the pace had really changed for the past couple chapters, but like once that was all downhill.
Yes, quite downhill.
So. Yeah, so we'll dive into book 4. There's only 5 chapters in this.
I think there's only 5. That's what I was looking at. Okay. I think there's only 5 chapters in book 4. So
I think we'll try and read all 5 of these.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
I think
because I think that is because then I think book 5 is also just 4 or 5 chapters.
4 or 5 chapters. Yeah,
boom.
So that'll be good. Okay. Yeah. So we'll do that. Okay. Oh, and we'll see how quickly we can. Then we need to. I'm already thinking about that summer pick me up reading.
Something peppier in your steppier. Because something tells me it's not going to get better.
Here. It's not.
So. But you know what is better? Haikus.
Oh,
that's what's better.
It is haiku, and I have a haiku for you. Hey,
what? A bonus one?
What do you mean a bonus one?
Isn't it my turn? It's not my turn?
No, you did one last week.
Oh, Oh, I did? Oh.
Yes, yeah, I will read you. Absence avalanche. Silence through the
that was
halls.
last week?
Seats await return.
Oh, I thought it was my week. I made a little note and everything. Oh. Well, there you go. Okay.
I mean, we could do both if you want to.
All right, yeah, do your yeah, because I'll read mine anyway. But yeah,
okay.
A double whammy. There
Double whammy. Okay. I'll read mine first. We'll see if you get this reference. I don't know.
All right.
Tiny steps they march, one by one to fate unknown. Save them or they fall. So that might have been a bit too obtuse. That was from the 1991 Lemmings game that we discussed last week.
Perfect. Obtuse IQs are the best. I don't even talking about. It's very good. I don't even want to read mine anymore. That was too
what?
good.
No. Come on, send us out. I'm ready.
Mine was an eye to the sky. Temperature fluctuations. School days in limbo.
Ooh.
Shablam.
Very nice. Very nice. Very, very topical. I can see what you've been doing on your days off.
Yeah, just
it's scary.
Do. Everything's fine. We're good.
Okay. Well, we'll see how many days you miss for school now by the next time we talk. We'll see, and we'll go from there. We'll wrap up. We'll go through book 4, and good. So,
all right. And next week's death metal band. Who knows who it will be?
Who knows? Who could possibly guess?
More importantly, what country will they be from? I have quite of a worldly theme here developing also. It's very interesting. I was not expecting that to happen.
I really was going to be like, this is going to be very European focused and like central here, but like, no, you're pulling them all over. So I
mean, mostly, but yeah, we have had a lot different. We had Ukraine and France and Germany and Australia. Surprise, Australia.
Surprise coming in. Surprise there. As they are wont to do. So we'll see what other mysteries unfold before us.
Indeed.
Okay. I love you.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.